If you're enjoying this story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more emotional journeys that touch the heart. Your support means everything to us. The pregnancy test trembled in Olivia's hands, two pink lines staring back at her like a sentence she wasn't prepared to serve. 6 weeks ago, it had been just one night, one moment of comfort with her best friend's brother, a man who already had his hands full raising his 5-year-old daughter alone after his wife's death 3 years earlier. Now, standing in her bathroom at 2 a.m., Olivia realized how completely their lives were about to change. Marcus Reed opened his front door, his expression shifting from friendly welcome to confusion as he took in Olivia's tear-stained face. His daughter Sophie was finally asleep after a difficult bedtime routine, and the house had that rare, precious quiet that single parents treasure. Olivia had never shown up unannounced like this before. "Liv? What's wrong?" he asked, stepping aside to let her in. She couldn't speak, couldn't find the words as she stepped into the modest living room scattered with Sophie's toys. The home still carried faint traces of Marcus's late wife, a family photo on the wall, a handmade quilt draped over the couch. Olivia had known this family for years, had watched Marcus struggle and triumph as a single father, had become Aunt Olivia to little Sophie. "I need to tell you something," she finally managed, her voice barely above a whisper. Marcus's face grew serious as he studied her. At 34, the lines around his eyes had deepened with the responsibility of solo parenting, but there was still something youthful in his expression, something that had drawn her to him that night 6 weeks ago when they'd both had too much wine after Sophie went to bed. "You're pregnant," he said suddenly, the words falling between them like stones in still water. Olivia's head snapped up, her eyes wide. "How did you? You've been avoiding me for weeks. You turned down Sophie's invitation to her dance recital. You've never done that before." His voice grew quieter, more intense. "And you have the same look my wife had when she told me about Sophie." The silence stretched between them, heavy with implication. "You're pregnant," he repeated, his voice dropping to a whisper as realization dawned. "It's mine?" Olivia looked at him, at the man who had already weathered so much loss, who had rebuilt his life around his daughter, who had never planned for this complication. She glanced toward Sophie's bedroom door, then back at Marcus. "Close the door," she said softly. Marcus pushed the front door shut, his movements mechanical, his eyes never leaving her face. "Yes," she finally answered. "I'm pregnant. And yes, it's yours." The weight of those words seemed to physically impact Marcus. He sank onto the couch, running his hands through his dark hair. "I don't. I can't." He started, then stopped, looking up at her with eyes full of confusion and fear. "I'm not asking for anything," Olivia said quickly. "I just thought you should know. I'm still figuring out what I'm going to do, but you deserve to hear it from me." Marcus stood suddenly, pacing the small living room. "Not asking for anything? Liv, this isn't just about you and me. There's Sophie to consider. And now." He gestured vaguely toward Olivia's still flat stomach. "I know," she whispered. "That's why I've been avoiding you. I needed time to think." "And what have you decided?" His voice was strained, tense with emotion. Olivia took a deep breath. "I want this baby," she said, the word surprising even her as they left her mouth. "I never thought I'd be a mother, never planned for it. But from the moment I saw those 2 lines, I knew." Marcus stopped pacing, his expression unreadable. "And what role do you see for me in this child's life?" "Whatever role you want," she answered honestly. "You're already an amazing father to Sophie. But I know this isn't what you planned, and I won't force you into anything." The silence that followed was deafening. Outside, a car drove by, its headlights briefly illuminating the room through the curtains, casting strange shadows across Marcus's troubled face. "I need time," he finally said. "This is a lot." Olivia nodded, gathering her purse. "I understand." I should go. As she reached for the door, Marcus's voice stopped her. Liv? She turned, her heart in her throat. Does anyone else know? She shook her head. Just you. Something shifted in his expression then, something she couldn't quite read. Don't go yet, he said softly. Please. We should talk more. And so began the longest night of their lives, a night of painful honesty, of fears spoken aloud, of possibilities neither had ever considered. By the time dawn broke, nothing was resolved, but something had changed between them, a fragile understanding, a tentative step toward whatever came next. The following weeks passed in a blur of doctor's appointments and hushed conversations after Sophie went to bed. They agreed to keep the pregnancy secret until they figured out what their relationship would be, what they would tell Sophie, how they would navigate this unexpected path together. Olivia found herself spending more time at Marcus's house, helping with Sophie, cooking dinner, creating a routine that felt strangely natural despite its newness. Sophie was delighted by Aunt Olivia's increased presence, unaware of the growing life that connected them all. It was during the 12th week, after a doctor's appointment where they heard the baby's heartbeat for the first time, that Marcus finally broke down. I never thought I'd do this again, he confessed as they sat in his car in the hospital parking lot. After Lisa died, I promised myself Sophie would be enough. That I wouldn't risk loving someone that much again. Olivia reached for his hand. I'm scared too, she admitted. I've always been the fun aunt, the career woman. I don't know how to be a mother. Marcus looked at her then, really looked at her. You're already amazing with Sophie. That's different. I get to give her back to you when she's cranky, Olivia said with a small smile. Not always, Marcus reminded her. Remember when I had the flu last winter? You took care of both of us for a week. The memory hung between them, Olivia reading bedtime stories to Sophie while Marcus slept off his fever, making chicken soup from scratch, creating a fort in the living room to keep Sophie entertained and quiet. We could do this, Marcus said suddenly, his voice stronger. Together, I mean. Not just as co-parents, but as... As what? Olivia asked, her heart racing. I don't know yet, he admitted. But I want to find out. That night, they told Sophie about the baby. They sat her down in the living room, nervous about how the perceptive 5-year-old would take the news. Sophie, you know how Aunt Olivia has been spending a lot of time with us lately? Marcus began carefully. Sophie nodded, her dark curls bouncing. Because she likes us the best, she said confidently. Olivia laughed, the tension breaking slightly. That's absolutely true, she agreed. But there's another reason too. Aunt Olivia is going to have a baby, Marcus explained. And that baby will be your little brother or sister. Sophie's eyes widened. But you're not married like Mommy and Daddy were. The innocent observation hit them both hard. Marcus looked at Olivia helplessly. Families come in all different shapes, sweetie, Olivia said gently. Your daddy and I care about each other very much, and we both love you. The baby will be part of our family too, even though it might look a little different from other families. Sophie considered this, her small face serious. Will you live here with us? Like a mommy? The question hung in the air, loaded with implications neither adult was prepared to address. We're still figuring that out, Marcus answered honestly. But Olivia will definitely be around a lot more. Good, Sophie declared. Because Daddy smiles more when you're here. The simple observation from a child's perspective shifted something fundamental between them. That night, after Sophie went to bed, they sat on the porch swing, the spring evening wrapping around them like a promise. She's right, you know, Marcus said quietly. I do smile more when you're here. Olivia leaned her head against his shoulder. This isn't how I imagined starting a family. Me neither, he admitted. But maybe that's okay. As Olivia's pregnancy progressed, so did their relationship, cautiously, with the weight of past experiences and future responsibilities guiding every step. Marcus's grief for his late wife didn't disappear, but it made room for something new, something unexpected. Olivia's fears about motherhood didn't vanish, but they became manageable with Marcus and Sophie by her side. They faced the reactions of friends and family together, Marcus's parents' concern, Olivia's sister's surprise, their friends' well-meaning but sometimes awkward congratulations. Through it all, they presented a united front, even when they weren't entirely sure what they were building. It was Sophie who ultimately helped them define their new reality. One evening, as Olivia helped her with bath time, the little girl asked innocently, "If the baby calls you mommy, what will I call you?" The question stopped Olivia cold. She sat on the bathroom floor, bubbles from Sophie's bath clinging to her now visible baby bump. "What would you like to call me?" she asked carefully. Sophie thought for a moment, splashing absently. "Could I call you mommy too? I don't remember my first mommy very much anymore, and Daddy says that's okay because I was little." Tears filled Olivia's eyes. "Oh, Sophie. That would be a very big honor. But we should talk to your daddy about it first, okay?" Later that night, after recounting the conversation to Marcus, they both sat in emotional silence. "I would never try to replace Lisa," Olivia said finally. "You know that, right?" Marcus took her hand. "I know. And Lisa would have wanted Sophie to be happy, to feel loved and secure." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "These past months, watching you with her, I've realized something. Love doesn't divide when you share it, it multiplies." The baby kicked then, as if in agreement, and they both laughed through their tears. 2 weeks before Olivia's due date, Marcus proposed, not with grand gestures or flowery speeches, but with simple truth as they lay in bed, his hand on her rounded belly. "I love you," he said. "Not because of the baby, not because it's convenient, but because somewhere between that night 6 months ago and right now, you became essential to me. To us. Will you marry me, Liv? Not right away, we can wait until after the baby comes, until we're ready. But someday?" Olivia turned to face him, her eyes searching his. "Are you sure? This isn't just for Sophie or the baby?" "I'm sure," he said firmly. "I didn't expect to love again after Lisa. I didn't think I could. But life had other plans, and I'm grateful for that every day." Their son was born on a rainy Tuesday morning, James Marcus Reed, 7 pounds, 9 ounces, with his father's dark hair and his mother's determined chin. Sophie was the first visitor, climbing carefully onto the hospital bed to examine her new brother with solemn curiosity before declaring him, "Smaller than my dolls but prettier." As they brought James home to the house that had gradually become Olivia's home too, they were not a perfect family. They were still learning each other, still navigating the complex emotions of building something new from unexpected beginnings. There were difficult days, when Sophie missed the mother she barely remembered, when Marcus felt guilty for his happiness, when Olivia doubted her abilities as a mother to both a newborn and a child who had already experienced profound loss. But there were beautiful days too, Sophie's 6th birthday party, where she proudly introduced Olivia as "my new mommy" to her friends, the quiet evenings when Marcus would find Olivia in the nursery, singing softly to James while Sophie slept curled against her side, the morning Marcus and Olivia exchanged vows in their backyard, Sophie serving as flower girl and James watching from his grandmother's arms. 1 year after that fateful night when Olivia had shown up at Marcus's door with life-changing news, they sat on the same porch swing, watching Sophie chase fireflies in the twilight while James slept against Marcus's chest. "Did you ever imagine we'd end up here?" Olivia asked, leaning into his side. Marcus smiled, the lines around his eyes now speaking more of joy than sorrow. "Never. But I wouldn't change a thing. Not even the way I told you. Showing up at your door in tears." He laughed softly. "Well, maybe that part. You nearly gave me a heart attack." Olivia took his free hand, intertwining their fingers. Life rarely gives us what we plan for, she mused. Sometimes it gives us what we need instead. As the stars appeared overhead and Sophie ran back to show them the fireflies she'd caught in her jar, they shared a look of quiet understanding. Their story hadn't begun with romance or careful planning. It had begun with surprise, with fear, with, "You're pregnant, it's mine," and "Close the door." But where it was going, that was a beautiful journey they were writing together, one day at a time. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like and subscribe for more content that explores the unexpected ways love finds us. Every subscription helps us continue sharing stories that remind us all that family isn't always what we expect. Sometimes, it's even better.